Welcome back, it's Frank. So this video is going to be a bit different because I want to answer many doubts that you guys have. So I see a lot of opportunities in the AI space, yet many of you don't know where to get started with all of this. So hopefully this video serves as an antidote so that you can stop thinking and start acting. So I have personally founded and led the development of an AI agent software for data analysis. I've also sold digital products online, and I also have an AI development agency. And at some point I was handling all of them at the same time whilst also building content for my YouTube channel. So I do know a few things that I can share with you guys and grab golden nuggets from. So this video is going to serve as a general guide and mainly a journey that I wish I took or I knew about when I got started within the AI space, okay? So as I said, this is not a Bible for you to follow step by step. This is a general guide that you can grab golden nuggets from, okay? So yeah, no fluff, no bullshit, just raw information, raw valuable information that you can grab. And yeah, let's get started. Right, so we zoom in a bit over here, you're gonna see this. And this describes product market fit or PMF. And this is essentially what you want with whatever you build. You want your product to meet some sort of market demand, okay? You want to stand in the middle where there is an opportunity. So obviously you want your product to have some sort of demand because nobody is going to buy it then. And something about the market demand, if you want to be sure that your product works, you want to pick a market that is growing quickly, okay? Product that is already large and maybe growing, right? That already has some initial demand. And if you want to be much riskier, well, you build in a market that, well, is emerging or it's not there yet, right? So this is what companies like Amazon and other similar ones have done, right? They created a monopoly around a market that was not available yet. So this is more of a risky one, but if you want to be sure to be successful, then I would start over here. So that's basically that. Now we are going to go into this, but actually, even before going into this, I suggest that you learn the following, okay? So you are going to learn Python. Why, you might think? Well, learning Python is going to allow you to learn capabilities. So it's going to allow you to think in this sort of engineering problem solving way so that when you go onto an A10 and you have a problem at hand, or N8N or Make, right? Any of these no-code tools, you are able to build things much quicker. Okay, so you are going to learn stuff like the following. So you're going to learn data types, what an integer is, what a float is, what a string is, what a boolean is, variables, so assigning names to things you want to use later so that you don't have to manually, define those things again. Lists and dictionaries, conditionals, and loops. And additionally, what you want to also learn is how to call APIs. You can do this with Python or with a no-code tool. But yeah, this is pretty important because all that you learn in the no-code space or within software, right? Most things require you to connect to some sort of service. So I think connecting to APIs is really important, and data types and how to manipulate data in general, how to manipulate and format data. So pretty important. And yeah, once again, so this is for you to build capabilities, for you to learn this mindset or framework on how to solve problems in an engineering way. Very important because I really stand by the following. So capabilities are much more important than the tools, because the truth is that you have N8N currently, you have Make, you have all these tools, but with how quickly technology is advancing, we don't know where they're going to be in the next 3 years, 5 years, hell, in even the next 2 years, we don't know. So it's better to first learn capabilities, mindsets, and frameworks so that you can use any tool that you want and know how to use it properly to solve problems that you have. So yeah, I really stand by this. Learn Python, learn APIs, and the third one will be to learn AI, as you probably know, learn how LLMs work, right? What attention is, right? It's not the attention that you're thinking about, but how LLMs work, attention, how they generate the next token, and how models are trained. So you want to look at perhaps briefly into how model weights are adjusted, right? There's different methods of how to train models. Maybe you want to look into that as well. But just for you to grasp a general understanding how these things work. So once you have all of these, right, you're going to build a good set of capabilities that are going to allow you to just go into most tools without getting stuck too much. So now we're going to go through these 3 different avenues that I think that you can take, and I'm going to compare them using these, you can call them benchmarks, or I don't know what to call them, but yeah, I'm going to use these things to compare each. My initial recommendation is that if you have no experience and you want to learn whilst you earn, I would choose a service-based business or agency because it doesn't require much leverage in terms of content. The exit potential for this, well, you don't get to see it straight away. It can get a pretty high valuation over time, but as I said, it usually takes longer than building software, but you can get there. If you grow it to enough customers, for example, and you find a scalable way of growing, there's a potential for a good valuation. Marketing skills required, well, you just need to do cold outreach. You need to learn perhaps how to put stuff on LinkedIn if you want a lot of clients. But you know, by doing cold outreach and cold calling, you can get pretty far as well. There's other things that you can do as well, but mainly you don't need a lot of marketing skills. Speed to launch, validate. Well, this is one of the quickest ways, in my opinion, right? You don't need to start building in a corner and wait to get any demand. You can just get started talking to people, doing outreach. So this one is relatively quick. Pricing power and revenue potential. Well, a service-based business or an agency is something that doesn't scale as quickly as digital products or software because it's not mainly code-based, right? You're trading your time for money. But the truth is that you can also have a very small amount of clients that bring you massive revenues. So with software digital products, what you end up having is ideally a large number of people that end up using your product for a lower amount, unless you are talking about B2B SaaS, which is what I was in. But this is also very similar. I mean, with B2B and B2C SaaS, what you have is large number of users, but a low price. Here you have a bit of a larger price, but then you have to be really selective with the users. Actually, I should do it like that. So users and then price and then here users. Okay, so it's, you know, it depends whatever you want to get. You can get successful with both. But the point is that with a service-based business, it's going to look more as a B2B SaaS where you don't get to have a lot of users, but you can charge a lot for your services because it's going to be more of a custom thing that you do for them, right? It's something that you usually would not find with typical software. So yeah, operational complexity. It depends on what thing you pursue, right? What type of projects you do, but you can start relatively simple, right? The thing is that, especially now in the AI space, very few people know how to leverage AI properly, especially with these no-code tools. And that's where there's an advantage right now, right? You can build relatively simple workflows within an A10 that bring a ton of value because you're adding AI into them. You're saving them a lot of time. So as long as you can sell that and you can actually show them the ROI that you bring into the business, regardless how easy it is to build, then you can get somewhere. Then for network and relationships, well, this is probably the best one because you're gonna get in calls with people where you're gonna work closely with perhaps business owners. And after you provide services for them, then you're gonna have a large network of business owners perhaps that you can call later on if you need any help with something, you need any advice, or you wanna partner with, you know, with something else. So it's really good for network and relationships for sure. With digital products, well, you do need some knowledge on how to do this. People post on LinkedIn, post on YouTube, do short form content, and then you can go really well with digital products. Exit potential valuation multiples. It does have to be more than a simple template or a file, but you can build a company around this, right? If it has a specific niche and use case, and you can reach big valuations with this. But you know, the product has to be pretty good. Marketing skills, well, kind of linked to this as well. You do need some marketing skills to sell digital products effectively, especially with how you are doing the copywriting for the product. You want to portray that you're selling something worth their time. Speed to launch, validate, it's relatively quick, but you need to sort of have some insights already on what to build. And that tends to come from, you know, having some experience from building with clients or already working for a business. So it's relatively quick as well. Might be quicker than this in some cases. Pricing power and revenue potential for this. Well, as I said, this is more of a scalable thing. So you wouldn't charge, well, the thing actually is that you have many sorts of digital products. You have courses, you have end-to-end systems that you could install for people, or it could be done for you. So pricing power and revenue potential is probably definitely lower than a service-based business because it's less custom and there's less human interaction. But yeah, nevertheless, the revenue potential is still pretty high as well. Regarding operational complexity, well, it depends on what you sell, but the operational complexity seems to be a bit less. I mean, you're exposing yourself to the internet, and I think there's a market for even simple products as well. So I wouldn't say there's much complexity when it comes to digital products. Although if you want to make a lot of money, you do need some moat, something that makes your digital product unique. So that can take time. Regarding network and relationships, well, I would say it's a bit inexistent, if I'm honest with you. I don't see much of an opportunity to establish a network or serious relationships with this compared to establishing an agency. So that's what I think about that. Of course, correct me if I'm wrong. And now for B2B SaaS, okay? So in order to build a successful one, you do need a decent amount of asset creation skills, marketing skills as well, right? To be able to drive your software to the right users, especially if you're building in B2C, right? Very important. With B2B, well, we're acting more as an agency over here, because you're going to a few people with a very custom product, and yeah, usually B2B businesses move with word to mouth. But if you want to establish a significant amount of revenue, then with B2B, you also need some decent amount of skills. But yeah, for B2C is where you need it the most. So I'm gonna remove that. Okay, what's next? So the speed to launch. I mean, software is what takes the most. Some people don't even get to product market fit, which is the hardest thing to do with software, right? It's just a hard thing to do. Obviously now there's quicker ways to do it. I'm going to explain you later how you can do it pretty quickly. But then again, it's a bit harder to do, much harder to do than these things, okay? Because in order for someone to use your product, but also not churn, okay? You need to really dig down on the UI and the UX of the product. Sure, somebody's going to buy your product. Great, they buy one time, but after a month or a few weeks, then they're going to churn out, right? Churning is just leaving the product and not using the product anymore. And they're going to go to a competitor that probably has a better UI UX or has a better set of features and understand the audience better. So understanding your audience and understanding how to provide the best experience for them is very crucial, because B2C, I mean, SaaS in general, is about recurring revenue. You want people to stay there. You want people to stick to your product. So that's the tricky thing about this when you're validating a product, right? There's a lot of iteration that goes into this. Pricing power and revenue potential. Well, these are scalable things similar to digital products. So it depends on what avenue you want to take, right? B2B or B2C. B2C is easier to start with, but you need really good marketing skills, but you can reach a decent revenue potential for sure. Regarding operational complexity, well, this is the one that has the biggest operational complexity of all of them. Because you got to build on code and you got to take care of the UI UX, the functionalities in the background, how to tie everything together. Network relationships. Well, this is definitely much less than building an agency. Depends on how you operate. There's many ways in which you can operate a software, but mainly definitely less networking relationships than an agency and a bit more than digital products, right? So it stands somewhere in between. Because as I said, if you go to B2B, you can actually chat to the people, to the business owners, because there's probably a few of them. Or in B2C, you can build a community around it. And yeah, you can chat to them, you can get one-on-one on calls with them, understand a bit about the product, right? So it stands in the middle. But yeah, hopefully you understand a bit more about these three different avenues. And what I really recommend, if you have no knowledge or not experience, is start with a service-based business or an agency. And it should naturally trickle down for you to start selling digital products and software as well as you go and you figure things out along the way, especially figure things out within marketing. Hi there, just briefly want to stop the video to announce that I have finally launched my community, Neuro Architects, where I plan to bring together the smartest people in this space and business owners that want to build the systems of the future together using artificial intelligence. So inside this community, you'll find everything ranging from all the templates that I will make from the YouTube videos, as well as exclusive community calls, and also so much other stuff. So join right now, stay tuned, and I'll see you inside. Right, so how do I get started with an AI agency or an AI service business? So there's a common misconception that you need to set up an LTD or an LLC, set up a business or company before getting started, and the truth is that you don't. Okay, you can get started as a sole trader. There's plenty of tutorials on how to do that, depending on your country. And sometimes you don't even need to set yourself as a sole trader. You can just get started, but check your country, see what you need to do. But yeah, don't overcomplicate yourself by setting up a company. It's not needed. And regarding taxes and all that, you're probably thinking, no, well, obviously check your country first. I'm not an advisor, but in most cases, if you're earning below 10 to 20,000 a year, you don't have to declare any taxes, right? Which is the phase you're getting started with, right? You're validating that, you're able to sell something. So at that point, don't worry about these things. Just set up yourself as a sole trader, which usually costs nothing. And then what you're going to do is build a site, offer free consultation, right? Free advice to people about the AI space. What would they need to have installed within their business when it comes to AI, right? Just quick tips that you've learned from these first steps, perhaps, from learning Python API LLMs, how to implement them within businesses. Set up a Webflow Framer site, okay? There are templates that are already made that are for agencies. It's gonna cost you maybe $50, $60, but trust me, it's worth it. You're gonna save a lot of time. And all you will have to do in most cases is just to change the title, change the descriptions and some images, and then you're good to go. If you're posting on LinkedIn or YouTube or whatever, sometimes you don't even need a site. You just need a booking link, but it depends on how you do it. In most cases, you will need a site because it shows some form of reputation, right? If you have a nice looking site, well, people are going to think very highly of you. They will want to work with you. And here are some ways in which you can bring people to this site or booking link. Cold email calls, it works, okay. Don't underestimate it. There are apps and tools online that help you with this, right? Do it at scale. You can run ads, although I don't recommend it because it comes a bit baity, similar to cold email calls, but it looks like you're selling some sort of scam course or something. So you don't need to do this. So usually this comes handy when you have already some content, but yeah, I will usually skip this one. YouTube, great place to get started. If you want me to talk more about YouTube and content creation, how to get started with that, because I know many of you ask me, hey Frank, how do you get started with YouTube, right? Recording stuff around AI and around stuff that I built. I can talk about that as well. So drop it in the comments below, okay? Join a community, right? You can join inside a community like mine. I'll leave it in the link in the description as well. And you can just say, hey, I'm open to for hire, or I'm looking for X businesses to build this solution, right? I'm very sure that there's people in my community and other communities that are happy to help you with that. Go to a local network, right? See who's around you. This is very underrated, very underrated. I've got many big contracts by just talking to my local network. And what you usually do is, hey, ask your dad, ask an uncle, if they know somebody, they know a business owner. And that's where you start your conversation. And then you would say, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm sharing content, I'm building whatever with AI. AI is a relatively new thing, so most people are going to be interested in discussing about it and how they can benefit or learn from it. So you're already a point of contact for this, right? A source of knowledge at this point. So you're going to chat to them, see if they need anything, they have any issues that AI could replace, right? Just ask that AI could help with. If they're a business owner, right? Ask, well, what's draining you right now in your business, and see if you can solve something for them, right? This requires some sort of sales skills, but it's just a matter of talking to more people and more people. If they're not interested, then what you can do is say, hey, is there somebody that might be interested in this, right? This is usually a magic word because, they can refer you to people that could change your life. Don't underestimate this, right? The magic phrase. Do you know somebody else that might be interested in this, right? Very important. And this is something that I've learned over this past 1.5 to 2 years, and it has helped me so much. So remember that phrase. I'm gonna write it here actually. Might be interested in this. So you just have it there, okay? But yeah, once you got people coming by, okay, and getting your calls, and maybe they're interested in in doing some sort of project with you. Additionally, at first, you are going to accept most people that come in because you don't have any experience. You need this experience. You're going to accept projects that you mildly enjoy. Don't be too selective, okay? Because again, you don't have the experience, you don't have the cash. You're going to use these first projects as a learning phase, okay? So that you can earn whilst you learn. In some cases, if you don't want to charge for it, you can also charge for free, right? In exchange for feedback later that you can add onto your website. This is a tactic that works as well. So offer free services I added here actually. So free for referrals or gift for refund. So you can just approach and say, hey, I've got no experience. Be honest, I got no experience. I know a lot. I build personal projects for myself, but now I want to try onto businesses. I see a lot of potential in this. The AI space is relatively new. And what I'm going to do for you is that I'm going to develop these solutions for you, free for charge. All I would need is for you to leave a referral on my site or under this document. And if you can give me permission to share this. And if I don't complete this project, if you don't like it, I'll give you a full refund. Okay, because it doesn't matter at this point. The money doesn't matter at this point. What matters is that you have learned things, or you will learn things along the way by working with these first businesses. One thing that I've learned is stick to backend automations and AI voice assistants. You can stick a CRM on top of it if you want, if you have experience in that or if you learn about that. But yeah, stick to backend automations mainly, because I found that with clients that want customer service systems is that they can get very picky with how they want their systems or the agents to respond to certain things. And it becomes a sort of a very iterative process where they're gonna rarely be happy with the output, right? So there's a chance there for you to really get lost, right? Especially when you move on to maintenance, that they're gonna want a lot of changes. A solution for this is well, limit the amount of changes that you can add onto the system or the project every month. But yeah, even whilst you're developing the project, they're going to want a lot of things. These customer service projects get really picky, right? The clients get really picky. So I'd stick to backend automations that solve a clear problem, that automate a problem end to end, and don't require a lot of contact with an end user, right? A chatting back and forth. Maybe creation of blogs, creation of content, you know what I mean? Something that doesn't require a lot of contact with an end user. So the other one is under-promising timelines and over-deliver, very big one. Always tell your client that even if it takes 3 weeks, you're very confident that it takes 2 weeks, tell them that it's going to take at least 1.5 or 2 times more than that, and then surprise them by showing early, right? This is just a tactic to surprise them, impress them, to tell, hey man, this guy that built the system for me, man, he built it very quick. So yeah, I'm gonna keep working with him because he seems like a great guy. So yeah, that's the tactic for that. Undercharge for first projects, all right? You're not here for, I think I repeated it already, but you're not in this at first for money. You're first for lessons. You're learning whilst you're earning. So the amount doesn't matter at the start. What you get most are the lessons. Okay, as I said, free for referrals, that's fine. And yeah, maintenance. So for maintenance, it's a bit tricky. I would recommend that you set up an account with them on an A10 or a Make, and then you develop the automation inside that account, and then maybe you record a Loom video or something explaining how to maintain it, and then you leave, right? Just to get started with. Then you can start looking into maintenance. It just requires a bit more thought into how you're going to maintain it. What value are you going to bring with those maintenance costs, okay, that the clients have to make. But yeah, this just requires a little bit of research. It's possible, but yeah, just make sure you offer you make a good offer when it comes to maintenance. Usually maintenance plans come easier to sell when you offer some sort of dashboard. Okay, where they can measure how good you can measure the performance, all right, or the ROI your system is bringing. Right, so you can build this on Go High Level. It's a great CRM tool, has pretty much everything built for you, and you can also build custom dashboards. I didn't talk about Go High Level in my channel, but if you want to hear about it, let me know. And at this point, when you start experimenting with a decent amount of clients, right? Maybe not decent amount, but you have 2 clients, 3 clients that you're working alongside with. That's when you can start looking higher, right? Because at this point, you probably have some sort of understanding that, okay, well, I know how to approach clients. I know how to get into calls with clients. I know how to build things with clients. So now it's time to hire, bring someone to help me. Okay, don't think about it as a hire because you probably don't have enough revenue to justify a hire, but I mean more like a partner. Okay, so you can go to your circle of friends if they know a bit about an A10. Go on Reddit, you're looking for a partner or co-founder, LinkedIn DMs, content, right? Upwork, if you have the money, if you're charging a decent amount, you can go and hire directly, right? For a monthly cost, or even you can just say, hey, okay, I'm gonna give you a 50% cut, a 40% cut, okay? Without even being a partner. It's just gonna be someone that comes in and helps. But yeah, usually people that are asking for a cut usually want to form part of the business as some sort of partner. So I'm not against that, right? Sometimes it's good to have someone alongside you to hold accountable and grow alongside with. So yeah, whatever you do, make sure that you develop SOPs, hiring SOPs, onboarding SOPs and stuff like that, so that you can eventually develop a system that works on autopilot, so that you don't really have to think about these things that much. Have some sort of CRM where you track leads. Maybe you have some sort of automations that automatically message the lead after you get in a call with them, explaining a little summary of the call, right? Just to keep the lead engaged and whatnot. That's what I recommend for that. Right, so once you've done all of that stuff, then at this point, you probably have worked for a few clients. You start seeing some repeated clients, right? Clients from the same industry and wanting the same thing come to you for similar projects. You start seeing patterns in the way you build these services, and you also see areas that you find valuable and interesting, right? So now once you reached here, you are going to refine and lock down on a niche, okay? Choose a niche, because if you do this, it's gonna come with a lot of benefits. First of all, if you are the agency that does everything for everyone, you're not gonna find your edge, okay? You're gonna do mediocre tools for everybody. Why? You're just gonna spread your focus across so many different industries. You're gonna be doing 1% better in every single industry. Why? Instead of that, you put all your focus and energy into focusing on one single industry and developing a unique edge in that industry so that your solution stands out from the rest. And also you can charge more if you do this, because now instead of selling an outbound system, you can sell an outbound email and social media system for real estate agencies. And think about the price tag for this, right? If I just sell an outbound system, this could be, I don't know, $1,000. But here you are really touching on a specific pain from people. So people are going to pay you much more because by seeing this, right, by niching down, they're going to see that you understand their problem deeply. Okay. So you could charge, 4x, 5x for this. You could charge 4K, 5K for a solution like this. It's not going to matter much because the more specific you are, the more you're going to touch on their specific pain. And the more they're going to believe that you know about their problem, okay? Which by this point you probably will. So yeah, that's the thing that you got to think about, developing your own moat. And you do this by refining, locking down a niche, going deeper into the problems of that niche, and developing a very unique solution for that. That's how you're going to get charged more and stand out as well. All right, so now to the next one. Now, once you've worked with a decent amount of clients, after niching down, well, you can start looking into productized services, okay? So now you're gonna have a system that can pretty much run by itself nearly, okay? By this point, you are going to have a niche solution, which you have an SOP for, right? How to build this specific solution. You're gonna understand everything. So you can build blueprints, perhaps to have another hire do for you. And you can put this on a website or put this whatever. And yeah, this becomes now a service that you can set up instead of setting it up in a week. Now you can set it up in 2-3 days because you know exactly what to do. You have a step-by-step blueprint on how to do this, right? In here, you kind of understood what to do, what the main problem was, but here you know every single step that you have to build on. So this just becomes a service that is going to be the same for every client that you build for. It's very similar to software, for example, or a digital product. So you're going to go to these services, install the same service, okay, maybe a few tweaks, but it's usually the same way. It's going to be built in the same way. And you can install quick and forget about it. You can install it in their account, in the N8N account. You can do maintenance, right? It works in a similar way as I showed you before. But the other way, as I said, is to sell it as a template or done for you or a digital product where you give them the blueprint or the template and then you put in a nice little video explaining them how to set it up and how to maintain it, right? This is the most scalable way because this doesn't require a person to be there to install it. So usually what happens is that you have the product nailed down, you know exactly how to build it. You can make a blueprint about it, then you can hire somebody to do it. And once you do this a couple times, well, you can build it as a digital product. You can build it as a digital product if you build it in a no-code tool and just put a nice little video, right? In the same way you would explain your hires or your co-founder to do it for you. You can just teach it to the client itself, okay? So that's how it goes. And once you reach to this point, now you can start, you want to get into the SaaS route now. Now that you understand how the solution works, right? You probably have a good understanding on how the data is manipulated, where data is being stored, what APIs do you need to call, right? So these are the basics that you need to know in order to build software. And you can start building an MVP front end with tools like Lovable or Cursor to get an initial idea on how this is going to work. Because I mean, by this point, you already have a system that sells by itself or a service that sells by itself. So why not put all the actions that the person needs to do in some sort of dashboard so that they don't even have to build it themselves? Because in this one as a template, you still have to build it in some way. But if you present it as a software, well, they sign in, they put in little details about what needs to be done, and then the software is going to do it automatically for them. There's no setup needed, right? And this is the ultimate form of leverage. So you can get started by building an MVP. You can build a landing page around it. You can get signups. You can get beta testers as well. So these beta testers could be the same clients from your services, so from the agency that you have. So which is why if you want to build software, it's very handy that you already have some sort of networks, right? Coming from your agency, for example. If you keep building solutions for the same people and you go through this route, you build an MVP and you can come back to these agencies or businesses and you can say, hey, now I have this kind of software that I'm building, which builds upon the service that I built for you. are you interested in trying it out? They're probably going to say yes. There's a likely chance they're going to say yes, and these are going to be your first beta testers. At this point, you can start thinking about hiring if it goes well, right? And there seems to be validation. The people using your product, your software, are liking it. You can start hiring a developer, or I would try first using an AI coding agent, because it got to a point where you can just code entire softwares yourself, or at least to the MVP stage with the backend and everything. But yeah, after building backend as well as the front end using AI coding assistance, I would suggest to hire a developer. Okay. But yeah, so that's the next step. You are going to validate it, make sure that they're happy. If not, you're going to go through some feedback, right? You're going to refine it. You're going to have features that they like, remove features that they don't. You usually start very simple and then you add on top, right? Don't start by building a lot of complex features. The best way is to start simple, a few buttons, a few main actions, targeting the main pain points, and then you build on top of that. Great software always starts with one use case, one pain point. But as I said, you can do this with your clients. They can be their first beta testers. And then once you refine enough and you iterate many times, you'll get to a point where you reach product market fit. So these clients that you have that come from your agency, for example, they try your product, they use it. Would you recommend it to another person? Well, no, because X. All right, now I'm going to fix that. Okay, I'm going to ask you again. Now, with those fixes, do you recommend it? They're going to get to a point where they're going to say yes, and they actually will. And the word of mouth is the strongest way to validate these products and get to product market fit. Once these people refer your software to enough other people, then you are going to build, or you're going to drag a market into your product. And yeah, software is going to be, fit with a specific pain point and a specific market. So that's how you reach product market fit, from agency to slowly building productized services and slowly building software. Then if you want, once you reach product market fit of some sort, by validating with your existing beta testers, you can start doing outreach in order to reach even more people, right? But that comes, once you already validated with the market in some way. You can validate with the market doing this directly, but to be fair, if you already have some people within your agency that you can test with, that's even better, right? It's much easier. And that's exactly what software as a service is. You have a service and you build it into a software. You automate all the processes that you would do in a service with code. That's how you reach the software, okay? So that's it for the first avenue that I wanted to discuss. All right, so this is the second avenue that you can take to building software specifically that has a product market fit. So it's gonna be by picking a problem of yours. This doesn't necessarily have to come from building services or an agency, as I explained before, right? This could be any problem that you find, either, you're working for a company, you're working for a startup, you find this problem in your day-to-day, right? So it's not limited to, agency work. You're going to pick a problem of yours. Then you're going to define a market. You can use research tools for this. Perplexity Deep Research is very good because it grounds itself with online data, up-to-date data, so that's helpful. So you're going to define a market, USPs, you do some competitor research, you look through Reddit and Google Trends. So for Reddit, there's this thing called Gummy Search, really helpful. So you add in a pain point and then it's going to search through comments that talk about those pain points. The good thing with Reddit is that there's a lot of genuine people as well. So you're going to find a lot of proper, real comments. And these are going to be used to validate a problem that is worth pursuing, because there's a lot of nice, shiny ideas that are not worth pursuing because people find them more of a vitamin, which is not bad, but I wouldn't recommend going this route, which they consider as a vitamin rather than a painkiller. So a vitamin rather than, I'm going to put it like that, right? So you want to avoid building tools that are a vitamin, okay? These are nice to haves, but they're not essential for a customer. They might use it because it's cool, it's nice, but it's not going to really dive deep into the problem or the issue that this person has, or this client has. You want to go for a painkiller. You want something that people desperately need, okay? So this is going to help with that. I really suggest, and I think I'm going to start doing this, is start posting in Twitter. Right? If you're building software specifically, Twitter is a goldmine for founders. So you can start posting on Twitter, or on YouTube, or on Instagram. I do recommend Twitter for founders. And you're going to build in public. Okay, this usually tends to help as well. People love the journey. I'm about to build some software tools as well. If you want to see that on my YouTube channel, let me know, because I will be excited to do that. But yeah, just do some sort of build in public series where you define the need, you kind of validate the problem, and you're saying, okay, I'm gonna build this, and yeah, just start going. you're gonna see if people resonate with that or not, and that also helps with validating what you're doing. So now, once you've done this and you start building in public, then you can build a landing page, you can build a wait list, start collecting emails to harness interest, and yeah, this is a good way to do it, because you need to validate there's a real need for it. What I don't want you to do is, if you start building software, you go in a corner by yourself or with a co-founder, but still in the dark. You spend 7 months building the solution and then nobody wants it. Okay, you can't do that. That's the old way of doing it. You usually build a landing page, you put a wait list, and even before you've built it, you want to get some form of validation. You can leverage existing networks. You go around searching for people to go to your landing page, saying, hey, this is what I'm building. I mean, you say that you're building it, it doesn't matter. Take them to your landing page, get them to a wait list, 10 networking events. So do all of that. And yeah, you can also push ads to your site. You can make content, as I said, right? Once again, collect those emails, or even more important, make them pay. Okay, don't be afraid to make them pay. If it's a big painkiller, big enough of a painkiller, people are going to pay for it. And that's also probably one of the best forms of validation. If you actually get some money from them, you don't need to charge a lot. You can charge $1, $3, right? Doesn't matter. This is a good way. If you're not scared of doing that, I suggest you to do it. Build some form of waitlist, building a beta version or something. Here's a special price for the first 100 members. Here's a price for life. If you want to put like $50 and you get the software for free for life, right? That's a good way of doing it as well. And it's not going to affect anything much long-term. If you only have 100 people with a lifetime deal, I think it's more valuable than not, because if you scale past 1,000 users, 5,000 users, those 100 people are not going to matter. And they serve great at the start because they validate your product. Okay, book a demo, chat to them face by face, show them the product, show them the prototype, collect information. Use this thing called a mom test, where you don't formulate the questions enough so that they are inclined to answer in a certain way. You want to ask questions that are open-ended so that they come up with answers that are actually going to help you, right? So look at the mom test. So asking questions that give you unbiased answers. That's what you want. And these things, these concepts, right? Making them pay before you even build anything or you have a basic product. These are things that appear in the Lean Startup and the $1 Million Weekend books. I really recommend reading those. But yeah, once you've done this, what you could also do is get in a community, getting calls, as I mentioned, and yeah, getting beta testers, right? You're gonna say, okay, I'm gonna let you try this tool. Let me know if you find any errors, and you can come back to them inside a community and just catch up with them, getting calls with them. Hey, what do you like? Do you like the product or not? A lot of startups are doing this right now, where they build Discord communities. They launch the product and they chat to people inside there and they get feedback. So this is great for that. And once you have some beta testers, well, you're just gonna keep iterating. Listen to them, okay? Most important thing is listen to your customers. Those are the ones that are gonna end up building the product for you, right? If you listen closely. Iterate, refine with the community and the beta testers. And at some point, you will reach PMF, okay? If you're persistent enough and you listen to your customers, you are gonna reach PMF. So yeah, this is a very powerful route that I am exploring right now. This is more for B2C businesses, which is, the business model in which most of you guys are gonna have a chance of succeeding. It's a bit harder, more marketing needed, more marketing required, but if done right, you can gain a significant revenue. The thing is that obviously it's a bit harder, it's a bit more unsure. And this one over here, it's more likely that you build B2B software out of this, which again has its benefits, probably has a moat in the industry, right? A much deeper moat. And yeah, it's a longer process though, but it just assures you a quicker, not a quicker, but a more of a sure path to product market fit. Because as I said, you start as an AI agency, you collect clients, you find a common problem or a common thing that you have services for, that you solve for clients. Then you start productizing that. Then you build an MVP. You use those same clients from your agency as beta testers. And then you slowly but surely get to validate your product as a SaaS. Okay. Usually this happens as a B2B SaaS and then you move into B2C. That's how it usually works. But yeah, that is all that I wanted to mention, right? Hopefully it wasn't that bad of a yap session. Hopefully you got something out of that, right? I wanted to be a bit more genuine in this video, so you see how I really am when I explain things, and what I've done what I've done and you know, just general lessons that I think if you grab some of these, you know, separately, or you grab some golden nuggets out of this, then you can surely use these for your own to build your agency and eventually your software business as well. Okay, so thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Let me know if you have any video suggestions in the comments. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up and a follow. Really appreciate it a lot. If you didn't like the video, let me know why in the comments below, okay? I'm always open to feedback. So yeah, this kind of was of a raw video. I remember I did a raw video last time and it did well. So yeah, this is another take at this. And yeah, well, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.